But to completely put it all on Embiid, I can't do that at the same time. But is he somewhat responsible? Absolutely, he is.
And I don't think he's the only responsible piece here. I'm just saying that you have two players that melt down in the playoffs that are now coming together to be teammates. That's Paul George, and that's also Embiid. That's what I've seen, is them melting down in the playoffs, and it's a pattern. And so I'm not looking for Embiid to get out of the first round. He doesn't have an issue in the first round. His issue is the second round and getting out of that. So this year he didn't even make it. That's why I'm not referencing this year, because he didn't get to the second round. He lost to a Knicks team that didn't have their starters. So you want me to?
That's not even Dominique. That's not even true. That's not even true.
I
disagree
with that one too.
Knicks had their starters. They lost their starters. Knicks had their starters. Knicks had Julius Randle.
Julius Randle can count as a starter.
Julius Randle doesn't count as a starter
because he hasn't played half the year.
He wasn't playing. That's the whole point. That's the whole point.
You can no longer call him.
Y'all having this long, drawn out ass argument.
That's fine. Sixers came out and said that they were the better team. How about that? 76ers, we're the better team. We're going to win this series. What happened? That didn't happen.
This whole long, drawn out argument. And you know what? Both of them going to be hurt in the first round of the playoffs.
There you go, Eric. Thank you.
The doors opened up for free agency, and immediately a lot of signings and moves happened. Most notably, Paul George leaving LA, which we kind of all figured, but signing with Philadelphia for a very, very lucrative contract out there to form a new big three in Philly. What do you guys feel about that?
Not all at one time. I'm looking for the needle, and apparently it didn't move.
It didn't move. That's yeah. What about the resident Philadelphia Pennsylvania resident? Rick, how you feel about that?
She definitely don't. Go ahead.
No, I like the move. I mean, what other moves were out there for them to do? You know, he was the big free agent option. That's who they said they wanted to go and get. That's who they got. I think he does fit well along in between Embiid and Maxey. You know, just look at his game. He has a complementary type game with those two guys, so it should be a seamless fit. Now, don't get me wrong, the team's not done, so the roster is very incomplete. I know the big thing is injuries. You know, can they stay healthy? That's going to be the biggest factor. Do I think it puts them up there as far as one of the top teams in the East? As long as you have an Embiid, to me, you'll always be amongst the top teams in the East. Right. But Paul George, when he's healthy, what can't he do? Right? So he doesn't have to do it. He doesn't have to be the main guy anymore. He hasn't been the main guy since Indiana, to be quite frank. So, but he doesn't have to play that role. He doesn't have all that pressure on him. He just come here, play his role, do what he needs to do, and this still Embiid's team. As long as he understands that, then everything will be fine. I don't see what the problem would be. I think he understood that when he was with the Clippers. I think he understood that when he was with OKC. He hasn't been the main guy since Indiana, so I don't mind a fit. But my thing is, what else you're going to do? You know, I like the Andre Drummond pickup. It provides something we were missing last year, especially when Embiid was off the floor, and that's rebounding. We had no rebounding. It was too small in the post. I like the Kelly Oubre re-sign. Eric Gordon, my goodness, this man won't retire. He's getting old, but he does provide some shooting, and he is not starting. If they start Eric Gordon, I'm going to have a problem. Then I think the other key component is the head coach. They have a good head coach in Nick Nurse, I think, who will be able to figure this out. If we had Doc Rivers, I would be concerned, but we don't have him anymore. We got Nick Nurse now. But again, it all comes back to health. What are they going to do?
That's the only issue. The only issue is that Embiid and his legs and his lower extremities and his leg injuries, and then Paul George. He get nicked up a lot. I don't. It's tough, but if they're able to overcome that, I like it. We were just talking. I want to say a week ago. I think it was me and Dominique doing. Did we do a show right after the Celtics won? I don't know. I don't know why it ended up just being us two. But
I was sick.
Chris got a headache. Yeah.
The Scottie Pippen game. But he so no, but I play with the flu, but I mean it is what it is. I'm not saying I'm MJ, but I'm just saying. But but no, I was like, man, Embiid has never had a legit number two that he could run with. And Harden was not it. Maxey, as young as he is not it, right? But now having Paul George, I'm like, okay, now let's see what you can do. You got a guy who's like toward the end of his prime. He's not in the dead smack middle of his prime, but he still got some prime years left. And he's a shot maker at that, man. What can you do with that? And he plays defense, right? So, and I think this is best he go get, on top of the fact that he got Maxey, who's rising into an all-star. And on top of the fact that they picked up some more free agents. I mean, they keeping Kelly Oubre, like you said, Brittany. They picked up Andre Drummond, who can be a backup for Embiid. He don't have to play so many minutes. And then when he goes down, they don't crash to the ground, because they was number one when he went down. And by the time he came back, they barely made the playoffs, man. So the shooting of Eric Gordon and all of that stuff being added to them, I think is good for sure. And then they lose Tobias Harris. He falls off.
Thank God.
Contract. Yeah, I think this is probably the best Embiid has had since he's been there. Maybe the Ben Simmons years was close. The Ben Simmons years was really good for Philly. I mean, let's be honest. The Ben Simmons years was good.
Before the incident, yeah.
Celtics in 4.
Oh my gosh.
I think, and also, I mean, we're also playing along with hypotheticals, right? So, of course, health is wealth, right? They have to have a good season health wise, right? I don't expect it to be a plug and play situation. Paul George, he's been pretty good at kind of adapting to whatever situation he's in. Being the number one guy in Indy to going to being kind of a Robin to Russell Westbrook, being the ball dominant guy over there, going to be a Robin, and then sometimes being the Batman, because Kawhi was almost unavailable most of the time, right? So he's been pretty good, but now with Maxey being probably your primary ball handler, and then Embiid being your primary post player, it kind of leaves Paul George in the middle of that. I think that's going to be like some new territory for him, turning into like kind of like a spot up shooter, Paul George.
Why?
Like, because Maxey will be the primary ball handler, and then, like I said, Embiid will be your primary post player. So it's just like Paul George will kind of be there for like the kickouts.
No, I think it works perfectly. I think it works the way any scoring guard or scoring wing would work with a scoring post player that's a big. It'll work like Shaq and Kobe. It'll work like Murray and Jokic. So any combo. So of course, of course, it ain't gonna be just like Shaq and Kobe, but it'll be the same dynamic, man. And then when it comes to we need a bucket, it don't have to be Embiid. It can be Paul George, and that'll be the difference. Because how many bigs get the ball in the post when you need a bucket, because they go cut the fouls off. Mm-hmm. So you that's probably not your best option in the post. Now you got a guy who can dance on you and pull up from 3 mid range and get to the hole or post up. Yeah, so I think that's gonna be dope. I don't see an issue. He's not gonna be a catch and shoot player. I don't think Nick Nurse don't even coach like that. I mean, he had Kawhi. He had Kawhi, and who was his big man in Toronto when Kawhi won it?
Pascal.
Yeah.
Nick Nurse know what he's doing.
He know what he's doing, and I think that this is probably perfect for Embiid, because what we know, his low, like you said, man, his low extremities, being the guy all the time, I think took his toll during the process. Like when he's the guy, 7 feet tall, 300 pounds, that big of a dude, and you are constantly being asked to deliver everything offensively on most nights for the team, you get worn out. And with a guy with the injury history he has, he doesn't have to do that now. That's the goal. That was the goal, and that's why I think it's going to fit seamlessly. Like you said, health is the biggest factor in all of this, and I think it ain't no secret. But at the end of the day, I like the roster. Do I like them more than I like the Boston Celtics?
Nope.
It's hard to say. Yeah.
I'm gonna steal something from Dominique real quick. y'all act like Embiid doesn't play down in the playoffs. Y'all act like he doesn't disappear. Y'all keep saying health is the biggest factor. The biggest factor is Embiid ever going to show up in the playoffs?
He showed up. He showed up this playoffs.
He showed up hurt.
Yeah, but he was averaging 35 against the Knicks.
Yeah.
Dominique, you muted.
Sorry, guys. I'm sorry, but I agree with Brittany that the roster isn't finished.
Yeah,
I agree with that. But Embiid and Paul George, it's not going to work because they're both losers. Sorry, Brittany. What I would love to see, and I think what we're going to see is we're going to see them perform very well all year. We're going to think that Philly's the team to beat. That's what's going to happen. That's going to be the story. They're the team to beat. We're going to want for them to be in the Eastern Conference Finals with Boston, and then I think Embiid's going to disappoint us again in the second round. Watch them not make it to the Eastern Conference Finals because of Embiid. It won't be Paul George and his little picayune injuries. It's going to be Embiid. Something's going to happen. His knees are going to be bad, or he's just going to flat out turn the ball over and play like poop in the fourth quarter every game like he typically does. I don't think that they're going.
That's cap, Dominique.
It's not cap. He plays like poop in the fourth quarter.
I'm looking at this. I'm looking at this Knicks. I'm looking at this Knicks game log when they played the Knicks, and I'm looking at 29 points from Embiid. I'm looking at 34. I'm looking at 50. I'm looking at 27. He did have one game with 19, and I'm looking at 39. I'm looking at 39. I don't care
if his stat sheet said 100. We watched.
Of course, you wouldn't, because you want to go with that narrative. I think that narrative is a little bit.
It's not a narrative.
I think that 19 game he got hurt.
Listen,
everything is Embiid is hurt. He's hurt. But when you're on the floor, you're not hurt. It's not true if you're on the floor. If you're playing, then you're there to play, and the expectation is that you're there to win. That's
right.
That's my standard.
And I'm looking at a 50 burger. I'm looking at a 50 burger. I'm looking at 34, 29, 39, 27. Embiid's fine.
You're just got to stay healthy. The Knicks, that was a first-round knockout. I'm talking about the multiple years that they could have made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, because this year they weren't.
Talk about what's recent though. Talk about you can't say he don't show up in the playoffs when he just showed you he showed up. He just showed up.
The last game, what did he score? What did he do in the last game?
39.
What did he do in the fourth quarter?
I mean, you want to go into the fourth quarter?
That's what I'm talking about.
We'll go into the fourth quarter. We're going to the fourth quarter.
It's the turnovers. It's timely. Basketball is about moments, and it's the moments where you're supposed to show up that he doesn't. And that's what Jay just mentioned. And I don't know if you were trolling, Jay, but Embiid doesn't show up when it's time.
That was an alley for you.
It's late game. It's late game free throws that he doesn't make.
I disagree on that one.
You talking about some old stuff.
I disagree. That last one I disagree.
Show up in late game situations, and you want to refer to the first round. Are you looking for a first round knockout, Brittany? Is that what you're looking for from Philly?
No, we just
you talking to me? No,
we're talking about moving the.
We're looking for what you're describing. It's not there.
But we're talking about moving the needle, so we want to get out of it.
Have there been moments where Embiid has not showed up? Have there been moments when Embiid has not showed up? Of course, right? Yeah. But there's also, to me, in order to get to a certain point in any game, you have to have the team, right? I don't want to hear they had James Harden last year. James Harden is boo-boo. Let's be real. James Harden holds on to the ball till about 20 seconds, and then he'll pass it off with 4 seconds left to go. There's not much you could do with that. There's no ball movement with James Harden. I don't want to hear that he had Ben Simmons so many years ago. We all know what happened with Ben Simmons. Look at Ben Simmons now. So I don't want to talk about Ben Simmons. Yes, Joel Embiid can absolutely get better, but you have to have the proper team surrounding him. Playing 4-on-5 is not good. Going into the playoffs where you could collapse on Joel Embiid. Now and we've all seen it. We all watched the games, right? He's getting double, he's getting triple team. Of course, it's going to contribute to certain turnovers, not playing well. Does this completely does that mean Joel doesn't need to be accountable? Absolutely, he needs to be accountable. Absolutely, he has to get better. But there's more factors to why Joel Embiid is not having the success that other teams are having, and that's part of the organization. That's on the organization's fault for not putting a proper team surrounding him. Now, PG and Maxey, this is a start, right? This is a start. The roster is not finished. I'm not expecting them to get past this first or second round with this incomplete roster. They got to do much more than what's going on right now. But to completely put it all on Embiid, I can't do that at the same time. But is he somewhat responsible? Absolutely, he is.
And I don't think he's the only responsible thing. Piece here. I'm just saying that you have two players that melt down in the playoffs that are now coming together to be teammates. That's Paul George, and that's also Embiid. That's what I've seen is them melting down in the playoffs, and it's a pattern. And so I'm not looking for Embiid to get out of the first round. He doesn't have an issue in the first round. His issue is the second round and getting out of that. So this year he didn't even make it. That's why I'm not referencing this year because he didn't get to the second round. He lost to a Knicks team that didn't have their starters. So you want me to? That's not even
Dominic. That's not even true. That's not even true. I had a starters.
I disagree with that one too. Knicks have their starters.
They lost their starters.
Knicks have their starters. Knicks have Julius Randle.
Julius Randle doesn't count as a starter.
Julius Randle doesn't count as a starter
because he hasn't played half the year.
He wasn't playing. That's the whole point. That's the whole point.
You can no longer call him.
Okay. Y'all having this long, drawn out ass argument.
That's fine. Sixers came out and said that they were the better team. How about that? 76ers, we're the better team. We're going to win this series. That's what happened. That didn't happen.
This whole long, drawn out argument. And you know what? Both of them going to be hurt in the first round of the playoffs.
There you go, Eric. Thank you. They're both going to be hurt. So, there's going to be injuries. I don't think this moves the needles for the Sixers.
It's the team to beat. And then next thing you know, both of them hurt. PG hurt. Embiid foot done went off.
I just don't like false narratives, man. I really don't, especially when the false narratives are let's take this player and blame. And there's no evidence. There's no evidence. There's no recent evidence for what you're saying.
Evidence.
Like you can't ignore a player averaging 35 in the series and then say it's all on you. You melt down in the play. Where's the meltdown if I average 35?
When it happens to LeBron, we can ignore it all the time.
No. I'm talking about me averaging 35. Me averaging 35, and you saying I melted down. No, because a meltdown. Anybody on the panel, explain to me what a meltdown in basketball is. What is a meltdown?
A meltdown is Paul George in the bubble. That's a meltdown.
No. Give me. What is a meltdown?
Meltdown is
meltdown.
You completely fall away. You're not reliable. You don't produce. Yeah. You're not putting any. You're not moving anything that puts your team in a position to win.
Has anybody that averaged 35 in the series melted down?
You don't do what
I see Embiid melting down in the final.
No. That's called choking, Jay. That's called choking. If I go to the free throw line in a tall ball game and I miss both free throws and we lose, I choked. A meltdown is a meltdown is a complete no-show. Has anybody ever averaged 34.5 and been a meltdown?
I'm not saying Embiid is a complete no-show. So if you need me to change,
you said meltdown. That's what a meltdown is.
If you need me to change the words meltdown, he doesn't show up in the postseason like Jay said. That's what I am saying.
He showed up in the postseason.
He doesn't show up in the final moments when you need him to show up. Period.
35. Oh, so you said he choked in the final. So you saying choke now? You changing it to choke?
Choke doesn't show up. I say meltdown. That's what I say. So I have no problem with the word. You want to?
I say that's wrong.
Semantics, that's fine. He doesn't show up when he needs to. When I need to win.
Did the Knicks choke against Indiana?
They sure did. They choked.
No.
You
want to talk about the Knicks not having their starters?
That's what
they didn't have their starters.
Have nobody out there.
When you don't have your number one scoring option on the team, which is Randall, he's supposed to be their number one, which I don't believe he's a real number one. But he
is not their number one scoring option.
Really? What has he been?
Jalen Brunson not the one.
Jalen Brunson
is their point guard. Point guards are not supposed to be the number one scorer. He becomes that
person. New style of basketball.
Becomes that person when there's no other person to score. Jalen Brunson has no problem scoring 15 and getting 1 million assists. No problem. He can feed Julius Randle. There's been plenty of times where he's dropping 40 plus and Jalen Brunson is the backseat. He's a true point guard. He just does what needs to be done to win.
What games did you say?
Julius Randle needs to be done to win.
40 and 50 all in the playoffs. And
that's what he needed to do.
It is what he needed to do.
What? I'm trying to figure out what games you saw Julius Randle drop 40 plus.
You don't remember that? You must not be watching the Knicks. You must not be watching the Knicks. He didn't play this season. He's been out.
What are you talking about? Stop talking about old shit. We're talking about what happened this year.
What are you talking about? Embiid melted down this year too. They got knocked out in the first round, period.
So basically, every team that didn't win the championship melted down in the playoffs.
If that's what you want to say, if that's what you want to turn my words into, if you don't understand what I'm saying about Embiid in the postseason, turning the ball over, come late game situations, missing free throws that he would normally make, that's what I call melting down. When you can't perform,
is that a meltdown, or is that just good defense from the other team?
That's not defense when you're not hitting your free throw. When you just literally kick a ball out of bounds and nobody's next to you. Nobody was next to him. He kicks the ball out of bounds. We can pull it up. It's fine. He just literally, the ball just kicks out off of his leg out of bounds. Nobody was there. These are the things that happen to Embiid. So
that's a meltdown.
To me, it is. It is. If you can't get the ball under control come fourth quarter, then you're melting down.
How many superstars melted down this year in the playoffs?
So many. Too many to count.
Yeah.
There can only be one winner.
I think Dominique. I think we just got a different definition of a meltdown. Man. We got a different definition.
I think that Embiid and Paul George are soft. That's what I think, and I think them coming together is a bad. No, I don't. I don't think Maxey is soft. I think he is the piece that they need, and if he becomes a third or a fourth option on the team to capitulate to Paul George, who's aging, that it's really not going to work. They need Tyrese Maxey to ascend on that team. He needs to be considered a 1A and 1A or 1B person on that team in order for them to succeed. Paul George needs to be the third option in order for them to really have a long, run in the playoffs. And I don't see them getting out of the second round again.
It's been 34 years.
In the East, I can see them if they're healthy. I can see them definitely getting second round. They probably can get to the conference final if they're healthy. In the Eastern Conference Finals is Boston and who else? Like we can say the Knicks when they added Mikal Bridges. I mean,
yeah,
Milwaukee. Okay, Milwaukee. I give you Milwaukee.
There are contenders in the East. There's contenders in the East, and I think that the goal is for Philly to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. They've been to the second round. Their problem is they can't get out of the second round. So what is it going to take? Do we really believe that it was?
No, the problem is health.
I'm talking about from a winning perspective.
It's going to be hard for everybody in the East.
The second round.
The problem is health. If they can stay healthy, that we can see. My clock starts for a superstar when they get the basic pieces that they needed, and a superstar needs a good coach and a good number two, a legit number two. This is the first year Embiid has had a legit number two. His clock starts this year,
and a good coach.
Yeah, his clock starts this year.
What did you say?
The one thing I said, the East is going to be a toss up because getting past Detroit is going to be.
I knew you said some bullshit.
Yeah, that's right.
They just got Tobias. My goodness, are they going?
Hey, hold on. They had the small three before that. They had the twin. They had Cade Cunningham, and who else did they get before Tobias? Who they draft?
Was it Ivy? No, that's not. He's not on it. Is it?
Jay Ivy is on that team.
He is on that team.
I can't remember who the fuck we just drafted.
While you bullshitting, they have some pieces. And
then Ron Holland,
and then with what's your boy JB
Bickerstaff on the coaching staff.
All I know is I need Tobias Harris's agent. I know it's his dad, but I will hire him in a quick of a second.
He has made the most money to do the league in the entire NBA. I think he's the luckiest NBA player. His contracts for what he's produced and done.
Always crazy. His bank has always been crazy. And
Sam Bradford of the NBA.
He has never been a number one, but he's gotten paid like one.
I trust the Pistons as much as I trust gas station sushi.
Chris, listen. Hey, don't knock it till you try it. Don't be surprised if Detroit make the play-in. Don't be surprised if Detroit make the play-in.
Detroit is not making nothing with the word play in front of it. Not making the play-in, the playoffs. Only thing they're gonna be playing is pickup basketball in Cancun when the season while the season is still going on because they're gonna get eliminated before All-Star break.
They're gonna be on the playground hooping. That's the only play they're gonna be.
They're gonna be playing intramural ball at the Y. I'm not trusting the Pistons to do shit.
boys gonna be getting them LA runs in.
They're gonna be out there getting work with Chris Brickley. Them boys not doing nothing come postseason, man. I'm not worried about them.
I see Embiid and Paul George being, like late in their careers. They're going to be the Charles Barkleys and the Patrick Ewings that never won. That's what I believe.
Yeah, that's a lot of them, though.
It's a lot
of people in that category. A lot of great players in that category too.
Not